A poor boy risked his life to save a stranger from an oncoming truck. When the black limousine stopped at the poorest building in town, nobody could believe what happened next. Marcus's worn sneakers splashed through puddles as he walked past Richmond Private Academy. The same route he took every day after school, watching the parade of luxury cars pull up to collect students in pressed uniforms. His faded hoodie clung to his shoulders, dampened by the light drizzle that had started 10 minutes ago. A black Tesla pulled up to the curb. A kid about his age stepped out, carrying a leather backpack that probably cost more than all of Marcus's clothes combined. The kid didn't even glance his way. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. The screen was cracked, but he could still read the hospital's number clearly enough. "Hello." His voice cracked slightly. "Mr. Williams? This is Sandra from Metro General Hospital HR." Marcus swallowed hard. "This is about my mom." "Yes. I'm calling to inform you that due to her current medical situation, we've had to reduce her hours significantly. I understand this might be difficult. How many hours?" Marcus cut in, his free hand clenching into a fist. "She'll be limited to 20 hours per week for the foreseeable future." The HR lady's voice softened. "We've already discussed this with her. She insisted on keeping some hours despite our recommendation for complete medical leave." "Of course she did." Marcus thanked the woman and ended the call, his mind already calculating numbers. Their rent was $850. Electric usually ran around $100. Food. They'd been spending about $300 a month, and that was with careful shopping. Thunder rumbled overhead as he turned onto their street. The apartment building looked even more run down in the growing darkness. Peeling paint, crooked gutters, cracked concrete steps. Home. The key stuck in the lock like always. Marcus had to jiggle it 3 times before the door opened. The apartment smelled like the vapor rub his mom used for her cough. "Mom," he called out, dropping his backpack by the door. No answer. He found her asleep in her bedroom, breathing raggedly. The bedside table was cluttered with prescription bottles, cough syrup, and a half-empty glass of water. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her work uniform hung loosely on the chair, ready for tomorrow's shift. Marcus pulled the thin blanket up to her shoulders. Her forehead felt warm. Too warm. In the kitchen, he sorted through the pile of bills. Electric bill, final notice stamped in red. Rent due in 5 days. A new hospital bill he was afraid to open. His mom's checkbook showed a balance of $342.17. The refrigerator hummed emptily when he opened it. Half a gallon of milk, some eggs, bread that was starting to get spots of mold. They needed groceries, but that would have to wait until his mom's next paycheck. Whenever that would come now. His phone buzzed again. Text from his mom's boss. "Your mother had another coughing fit today. Had to send her home early. She needs to see a doctor again." Marcus deleted the message. They couldn't afford another doctor visit. Not now. The rain picked up outside, drumming against the windows. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by bills, and pulled out a notebook. He started writing. Rent, $850 electric, $102.43 food, dollar. Mom's meds, $175 bus passes, $60. The numbers blurred together. Even with his after-school job at the corner store, they'd be short. Way short. His mom's cough echoed from the bedroom, followed by the creak of bed springs. "Marcus? That you, baby?" "Yeah, Mom. Just doing some homework." He quickly shoved the bills under his notebook as she appeared in the doorway, wrapped in her old robe. "You eat yet?" She tried to smile, but it turned into another cough. "I'm good. You should be resting. Got to get ready for work tomorrow." She shuffled to the sink, filling a glass with water. Her hands shook slightly. "Mom," they called. "About your hours." She set the glass down carefully. "I know, baby. We'll figure it out. We always do." Marcus watched her shuffle back to bed, her shoulders hunched like she was carrying something heavy. Once he heard her door click shut, he pulled the bills back out. The corner store would give him a few more hours, but it wouldn't be enough. Nothing would be enough. Not with his mom's health getting worse. Thunder cracked closer now. Marcus checked their emergency supplies. 2 flashlights with dying batteries, some candles, half a package of matches. The lights flickered once, twice. His phone showed 6:47 p.m. The grocery store closed at 8 o'clock. They needed food, and he still had $30 from his last paycheck. If he hurried, he could make it before the storm got worse. Marcus scribbled a note. getting groceries. Back soon. Rest. Love you. He grabbed the old umbrella from behind the door, the one with the bent ribs that only half opened, and headed out into the rain. The wind had picked up, driving the drops sideways. As he started down the street, Marcus glanced back at their apartment window. The light in his mom's room was still on. She should be sleeping, not worrying about work tomorrow, not worrying about bills or food or anything. But she would worry. She always did. And now, so did he. The rain soaked through his shoes as he walked faster, making lists in his head. What they needed versus what they could afford. What bills could wait and what ones couldn't. How many extra hours he could pick up without his grades dropping too much. Ahead, the streets grew busier as he approached the shopping district. Cars splashed through puddles, their headlights cutting through the growing darkness. The private academy loomed on his right, its windows still lit up for some evening event. Marcus pulled his hoodie tighter and kept walking. They needed food. They needed money. They needed a miracle. He didn't know it yet. But in less than 20 minutes, everything would change. The choice he was about to make would reshape not just his life, but the lives of everyone around him. For now, though, he was just a kid in worn-out sneakers, walking through the rain, trying to figure out how to keep his world from falling apart. The storm was getting worse. The grocery bags cut into Marcus's fingers as he started the walk home. He'd stretched the $30 as far as he could, store-brand everything, marked-down bread, the dented cans nobody else wanted. The cashier had given him that look again, the one that mixed pity with suspicion when he counted out crumpled dollar bills. The rain hadn't let up. Water streamed down his face, and his socks squished with every step. Ahead, Richmond Private Academy's gates were still open, light spilling onto the wet sidewalk. A security guard stood under the overhang, watching Marcus as he passed. Evening, Marcus muttered, keeping his eyes down. The guard didn't respond. Cars lined up at the academy's entrance. Mercedes, BMWs, Range Rovers. Parents picking up kids from some evening event. Marcus quickened his pace, the bag swinging heavily against his legs. A voice cut through the rain. "Andrew, hurry up. The driver's waiting." Marcus glanced over. A boy about his age wobbled on an expensive-looking bicycle, struggling with a large instrument case strapped to his back. The bike's wheels slid on the wet pavement. "I'm coming." The boy, Andrew, called back. He was Asian, wearing the academy's uniform under a rain jacket that probably cost more than Marcus's entire wardrobe. Thunder cracked overhead. Andrew flinched, nearly losing control of his bike. Marcus paused, watching. Something felt wrong. The way the bike was sliding, the angle of the wheels. A truck's engine roared in the distance, growing louder. Andrew tried to stand on the pedals, but the bike slipped again. The instrument case threw him off balance. He was heading toward the street, picking up speed on the slick downward slope. "Hey!" Marcus shouted. "Watch out!" The truck appeared at the intersection, its headlights blazing through the rain. The driver couldn't see Andrew. Wouldn't be able to stop in time. Marcus's fingers went numb. The grocery bag slipped from his hands, cans clattering across the sidewalk. Time seemed to slow down. He saw everything with crystal clarity. The truck, bearing down. Andrew, losing control. The wet pavement between them. The distance he'd have to cover. His body moved before his brain could finish the calculations. Sneakers pounding against concrete, rain stinging his eyes. The truck's brakes squealed. Someone screamed. Marcus lunged, his fingers barely brushing Andrew's jacket. Not enough. He slipped, knee scraping the pavement hard enough to tear his jeans. The truck was almost on them. "Jump off!" Marcus screamed. "Now!" Andrew was frozen, eyes wide with terror. The bike tilted dangerously. Marcus pushed himself up and sprinted again. This time, he got a solid grip on Andrew's jacket. He yanked backward with everything he had. They fell together, rolling away from the street. The truck roared past, horn blasting. Wind and water sprayed over them. For a moment, they just lay there on the wet sidewalk, gasping. "Oh my God!" Andrew wheezed. "Oh my God!" People were running toward them. Phones appeared, recording. The security guard shouted something into his radio. Marcus's knee throbbed. His groceries were scattered everywhere, getting soaked. "Mom's food. Are you okay?" A woman's voice. "Someone call an ambulance." "I'm calling his father," another voice said. James Chen needs to know dash. Marcus's head snapped up. James Chen, the tech billionaire. The man whose face was always in the local news. He looked at Andrew again. Really looked at him this time. Oh, young man, stay right there, the security guard ordered, approaching quickly. We need to dash. Marcus was already moving, pushing himself to his feet. His knee screamed in protest. Wait! Andrew called. I don't even know your name. But Marcus was running, leaving the scattered groceries behind. The rain washed away any response he might have given. He ran until his lungs burned, until he couldn't hear the voices anymore, until the academy and its gates and its expensive cars disappeared behind him. Finally, he stopped in an empty parking lot, hands on his knees, breathing hard. His jeans were torn and bloody. The rain had soaked through every layer of clothing. His phone buzzed. A text from his mom. Where are you? Storm's getting worse. Marcus stared at the screen, water dripping from his nose. What was he supposed to say? Sorry, Mom. Lost our grocery money saving a billionaire's kid. Sorry. Couldn't bring home food because I was too busy playing hero. Sorry. Everything's gone wrong. He typed, on my way. Got caught in the rain. The walk home felt longer than usual. Every car that passed made him flinch, expecting news vans or police or sleek black cars with tinted windows. By the time he reached their apartment building, his knee had stiffened up. He climbed the stairs slowly, leaving wet footprints on each step. The door opened before he could reach for his key. His mom stood there in her robe, looking worried. Marcus? Where are the dash? She stopped, seeing his torn clothes, his empty hands. What happened? I fell, he said. It wasn't exactly a lie. Lost the money. I'm sorry, Mom. She pulled him inside, already moving toward their first aid kit. Money doesn't matter. Are you hurt? Let me see that knee. Marcus sat at the kitchen table while she cleaned the scrape. Neither of them mentioned the empty fridge, or the bills still scattered across the table, or the fact that $30 was $30 they couldn't afford to lose. It's okay, she said, smoothing a bandage over his knee. We'll figure something out tomorrow. Marcus nodded, not trusting himself to speak. The TV droned in the background, some local news report. He caught fragments of words, near Richmond Academy. Miraculous rescue. Unidentified hero. His mom paused, glancing at the TV. Heard about that on my break. Some kid almost got hit by a truck. Lucky someone was there to help. Yeah, Marcus said. Lucky. Later, in his room, Marcus lay on his bed listening to the storm. His knee throbbed. His muscles ached. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the truck bearing down, felt the desperate grab for Andrew's jacket. His phone lit up with a news alert. Tech billionaire James Chen searches for son's mystery savior. Marcus turned the phone face down. Tomorrow, there would be consequences. Tomorrow, there would be questions and cameras and complications. Tonight, there was just the rain, and the empty fridge, and the weight of a choice he couldn't undo. He didn't regret saving Andrew. Not for a second. But as he drifted off to sleep, one thought kept circling through his mind. What happens next? Marcus woke to his phone buzzing nonstop. Messages flooded his screen. Yo, was that you on the news? Marcus checked this video. Holy shit, man, answer your phone. He clicked one of the links. A shaky cell phone video showed the rescue from last night. Two blurry figures in the rain. The truck's headlights, the desperate grab. Comments piled up underneath. Anyone know who the hero is? That was crazy close. James Chen offering reward for info. Marcus shut off his phone. Sunlight streamed through his window. The storm finally cleared. His knee had stiffened overnight. The bandage stuck to dried blood. Marcus. His mom's voice carried from the kitchen. You up? Channel 5's here in the neighborhood. He limped to his window. A news van was parked across the street, a reporter talking to their neighbors. Yeah, I'm up. His voice cracked. Just getting dressed. He pulled on clean jeans over his bandaged knee, grabbed his backpack, and headed for the kitchen. His mom stood by the sink, watching the news van through their smudged window. They're saying that boy who almost got hit is James Chen's son, the tech company owner. She turned to Marcus, frowning at his limp. Knee still hurting. It's fine. He grabbed an apple from the counter, one of their last pieces of fresh food. I should get to school. You sure? Maybe you should rest that leg dash. Can't miss any more days. He gave her a quick hug. Love you. He slipped out the back door before she could protest, cutting through the alley to avoid the news van. His phone buzzed again. This time it was his best friend Tony. "Dude, where are you? Everyone's talking about the video." "That had to be you, right?" Marcus typed back. "Going to be late. Cover for me." The response came instantly. "You know I got you. But we're talking about this later." Marcus took the long way to school, avoiding main streets. But he couldn't avoid the signs of what had happened. News vans clustered around Richmond Academy. Reporters interviewed students and parents. Police cars idled nearby. He ducked his head and walked faster. The hallways buzzed with excitement when he finally reached school. Phones displayed the video. Students huddled in groups discussing theories about the mystery hero. "I heard James Chen's offering $50,000, someone said as Marcus passed. "My cousin works at the academy. Says they've got security camera footage." Marcus kept walking, eyes down. He made it to his locker without being noticed. Almost. "Yo, Marcus." Tony appeared beside him. "Where you been? Did you see Dash?" "Not now," Marcus muttered, grabbing his books. Tony lowered his voice. "That was you, wasn't it? In the video? I'd recognize those beat-up sneakers anywhere." Marcus slammed his locker shut. "I said not now. But dude, there's a reward. You could dash, Tony." Marcus turned to face his friend. "Please." Tony studied his face, then nodded slowly. Okay, but you know you can talk to me, right?" "Yeah, I know." The morning dragged. Marcus couldn't focus on his classes. Every notification sound made him flinch. During third period, the principal's voice crackled over the intercom. "Attention students. As you may be aware, there was an incident near Richmond Academy last night. If anyone has information about the individual who helped Andrew Chen, please come to the office. Complete confidentiality will be maintained." Whispers erupted around the classroom. Marcus stared at his desk, feeling eyes turn toward him. By lunch, the reward had doubled. News helicopters circled overhead. James Chen had given a press conference, pleading for the mystery hero to come forward. Marcus sat alone in the library, trying to ignore the live stream someone was watching nearby. "My son is alive because of this young man's courage," James Chen's voice carried across the quiet space. "I just want to thank him personally. To show my gratitude." Marcus put on his headphones, drowning out the rest. His phone vibrated. Text from his mom. "Hospital called. Need to discuss my leave options. Can you pick up dinner? Using last of emergency cash." Their emergency cash. The wadded up 20s his mom kept in an old coffee can, saved penny by penny over months. For real emergencies. Like now. Marcus's hands shook as he typed back. "Got it covered." The afternoon news showed footage from traffic cameras, analyzing the rescue from multiple angles. Frame by frame, trying to identify him. It was only a matter of time. After school, Marcus walked to the corner store where he worked. His manager, Mr. Park, was watching the news when he walked in. "Ah, Marcus." Mr. Park muted the TV. "You're early. Actually, I need to quit." Mr. Park's eyebrows shot up. "Quit? Why?" "Family stuff." "I'm sorry. This about your mother? I heard she's been sick." Mr. Park stuttered him. "You know, that boy in the video, he moves like you." Marcus said nothing. Mr. Park sighed. "Give me a minute." He disappeared into the back room, returning with an envelope. "Your last paycheck, plus a little extra." He held up a hand when Marcus tried to protest. "You're a good kid. Whatever you're dealing with, be careful, okay?" Marcus nodded, throat tight. "Thank you." He walked home slowly, the envelope heavy in his pocket. The news vans had multiplied. Reporters interviewed more neighbors. His mom was asleep when he got home, another pile of medical papers on the kitchen table. Her breathing sounded worse. Marcus sat down and opened the envelope. $200, more than double his normal pay. Enough for groceries. Maybe even enough to cover part of the electric bill. His phone buzzed. Another news alert. James Chen increases reward to $100,000 for information leading to son's rescuer. $100,000. Enough to pay off their bills. Get his mom proper treatment. Maybe even let her rest instead of working herself to death. All he had to do was come forward. Marcus pulled out a piece of paper and began to write. "Dear Mr. Chen, I'm the person who helped your son last night." He stopped, crumpled the paper, started again. "Mr. Chen, I don't want a reward. I just... Another crumpled attempt. His mom coughed in the other room, the sound rattling in her chest. Marcus closed his eyes, remembering the truck's headlights. Andrew's terrified face. The desperate grab in the rain. He hadn't done it for money. Hadn't even thought about consequences. He just acted. Opening his eyes, Marcus reached for a fresh piece of paper. This time, the words came easier. Dear Mr. Chen, my name is Marcus Williams. Last night, I saw your son Andrew lose control of his bike near the academy. Outside, another news van drove past. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, Marcus wrote the truth. Every word. When he finished, he folded the letter carefully and slipped it into an envelope. He'd mail it in the morning. For now, he had groceries to buy with Mr. Park's money, bills to sort, a mother to take care of. The choice was made. Whatever came next, he'd face it. The envelope felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in Marcus's pocket as he walked to school the next morning. He hadn't mailed it yet. Every mailbox he passed made his stomach twist. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing since he woke up. The video had gone viral overnight. Millions of views, shared across every platform. #Mystery Hero was trending. Marcus. Tony jogged up beside him. You weren't answering your phone. Been busy. You see the news? They're saying the Chen kid's dad hired private investigators. Marcus's hand tightened around the letter in his pocket. Yeah. And get this. Some people are saying they got clear shots of the hero's face from security cameras, but the Chen family's keeping them private. Like they want to ID him first or something. A car slowed beside them, another news van. The reporter leaned out the window. Excuse me. We're talking to local students about the rescue. Would you boys dash? No comment. Tony called back, steering Marcus down a side street. Come on. They walked in silence for a block before Tony spoke again. You know you can trust me, right? Marcus stopped walking. I wrote a letter. To James Chen. You what? Tony grabbed his arm. Let me see. Marcus pulled out the envelope. Tony read it quickly, his eyes widening. Bro, this is it. This could change everything. Your mom's medical bills, your apartment dash. I didn't do it for money. No, but... Tony handed the letter back. You deserve it. After everything you've been through. The school was chaos when they arrived. News trucks lined the street. Reporters tried to interview students as they entered. Principal Sanders stood at the front door, refusing to comment. Marcus slipped in through the side entrance, Tony running interference. First period was a joke. Nobody paid attention to the lesson. Everyone was watching the latest news updates on their phones under their desks. Chen family spokesperson confirms reward now at $250,000. Marcus felt sick. By lunch, 3 different students had approached him, asking if he was the one in the video. He denied everything, but he could see the doubt in their faces. The way they looked at his torn jeans, his bandaged knee. In the cafeteria, a group of seniors were frame by frame analyzing the video. Look at the way he moves. That's definitely someone who knows Park Hour or something. Nah, just desperate. Pure adrenaline. Whatever it was, that truck would have killed them both. Marcus couldn't eat. The letter burned in his pocket. His phone buzzed. Text from his mom. Hospital meeting done. They want me to take unpaid leave. We need to talk when you get home. Another buzz. News alert. Andrew Chen gives emotional interview. I just want to thank the person who saved my life. Marcus clicked the link before he could stop himself. Andrew sat in what looked like an expensive office, his eyes red. I keep seeing it in my dreams, he was saying. The truck coming, me frozen. I couldn't move. And then this kid, he didn't even hesitate. He risked everything to save me. A total stranger. The interviewer leaned forward. What would you say to him if he's watching? I'd say. Andrew's voice cracked. Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't get your name. My dad, he wants to help you. Whatever you need. Please come forward. Marcus closed the video, hands shaking. You okay? Tony asked quietly. I have to go. What? We still have 2 periods dash. Cover for me. Tony hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, always. Marcus walked out of school, past the news vans, past the reporters. No one stopped him. No one noticed. He found himself at the post office, staring at the letter in his hand. A TV mounted on the wall played more coverage. Private investigators continue to canvass the neighborhood. Security footage being enhanced. Reward increased to unprecedented levels. Marcus stepped up to the counter. "How can I help you?" the clerk asked. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. His phone buzzed again. Another text from his mom. "Don't worry about dinner. Couldn't keep breakfast down. Just rest." She was getting worse. Marcus put the letter back in his pocket and walked out. The afternoon sun beat down as he headed home. Every store window showed the news. Every conversation he passed mentioned the mystery hero. He found his mom on the couch, looking pale. "You're home early," she said, trying to sit up. "Mom." Marcus took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something." He pulled out the letter. She read it slowly, her hands trembling slightly. When she finished, she looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "Oh, baby, when did you?" "The night I lost the groceries." Marcus sat beside her. "I couldn't just." He was going to get hit. She pulled him into a hug. "Of course you couldn't. You've always been like that. Just like your father before." She stopped herself, but Marcus tensed anyway. His father, the man who'd walked out 7 years ago, leaving them with nothing but debt and broken promises. "I'm not him," Marcus said quietly. "No." She touched his cheek. "You're so much more." They sat in silence for a moment, the letter between them. "The reward." His mom started. "I don't want it." "Marcus." She took his hand. "Sometimes pride isn't worth dash. It's not pride." Marcus stood up, pacing. "If I come forward, there'll be cameras. Interviews. Everyone wanting to know our story. And then, what if he finds us? What if he sees the news and decides he wants to come back? Pretend he cares now that there's money involved?" Understanding dawned in his mother's eyes. "Oh, baby." His phone buzzed yet again. Another news alert. Chen family to make major announcement regarding search for mystery hero. Marcus looked at his mom, saw the exhaustion in her face, the pain she tried to hide. The letter felt heavier than ever in his hand. "What should I do?" She patted the couch beside her. He sat down, letting her pull him close like she used to when he was little. "Whatever you decide," she said softly, "I'm proud of you. Not for saving that boy, though I am proud of that too, but for being someone who didn't even think about rewards or consequences. You just helped because it was right." Marcus leaned against her shoulder, feeling the slight tremor in her body, hearing the wheeze in her breathing. The letter waited. Tomorrow, James Chen would make his announcement. Tomorrow, the investigators might find something. Tomorrow, everything could change. But right now, Marcus just sat with his mom, watching the sun set through their grimy window, trying to find the right path forward. The news played on their ancient TV. "Mystery hero. If you're watching." Marcus closed his eyes. He had a choice to make. Marcus woke to the sound of his mother coughing. Heavy, wet coughs that seemed to shake the thin walls of their apartment. He found her in the bathroom, gripping the sink, specks of blood dotting the white porcelain. "Mom!" He rushed to her side. "I'm okay," she gasped between coughs. "Just give me a minute." She wasn't okay. Her skin felt clammy, her breathing ragged. Marcus helped her back to bed, his mind racing. The letter sat on his desk, still unsealed. Next to it, a new stack of medical bills had arrived yesterday. The numbers blurred together, but the total was clear enough, $12,476.83. "You need to go to the hospital," he said, pulling out his phone. "No." She caught his wrist. "No hospitals. We can't afford dash." Another coughing fit cut her off. Marcus's phone buzzed with notifications. James Chen's announcement was trending. In addition to the reward, the Chen family pledges to cover any medical expenses or educational needs of the mystery hero and their family. Marcus stared at the screen, his hands shaking. The doorbell rang. "Mr. Williams? Channel 7 News. We'd like to ask you about the night of the rescue." Marcus froze. His mom gripped his hand tighter. "How did they?" "Someone at school must have talked," he whispered. They waited in silence until the reporter left. But the damage was done. Their address was out. Marcus's phone lit up with a text from Tony. "Dude, I swear I didn't tell anyone. But people noticed your knee, started putting it together. I'm so sorry." More texts flooded in. "Is it true? Bro, answer your phone. Reporters asking about you at work." Marcus turned off his phone. "You should go to school." his mom said weakly. I'm not leaving you like this. Marcus. She tried to sit up, triggering another cough. We can't hide from this forever. She was right. But watching her struggle to breathe, all Marcus could think about was the hospital bills. The missed work, the rent coming due, the reward money that could fix everything. His phone buzzed again. Tony, using their landline to get through. News vans outside school. Everyone's talking. What do you want me to say? Marcus texted back. Nothing. Say nothing. He spent the morning making calls to the hospital billing department, to their landlord, to his mom's work. The responses were all the same. Payment required immediately. No more extensions. Policy requires. Around noon, his mom's fever spiked. Marcus pressed a cold washcloth to her forehead, watching her fitful sleep. The TV in the living room carried James Chen's voice. We understand the desire for privacy. But my son's hero should know, we want to help. Whatever they need. Marcus walked to the window. News vans lined their street now. Reporters interviewed neighbors. Camera lenses pointed up at their apartment. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Hello, Marcus. A man's voice. This is James Chen. Marcus's heart stopped. How did you? Your friend Tony reached out through my company's website. He's worried about you. About your mother. Marcus sank into a chair. I can't. Please, just listen. Chen's voice softened. I know you didn't do it for money or recognition. That's exactly why you deserve both. Let me help your mother. No strings attached. In the bedroom, his mom started coughing again. I have to go, Marcus whispered, and hung up. He ran to his mother's side. The coughing wouldn't stop. Her lips were turning blue. Marcus called 911. Everything blurred after that. Paramedics rushing in. Neighbors gathering outside. Camera flashes through the windows. In the ambulance, his mom grabbed his hand. The letter, she wheezed. Send it, Mom. No more hiding. Her eyes closed. No more pride. The machine started beeping. At the hospital, they wouldn't let him stay with her. Forms appeared in front of him. Insurance information, payment agreements, consent forms. Marcus sat in the waiting room. The unsealed letter burning a hole in his pocket. The TV mounted on the wall played footage from his street. Reporters crowded around the ambulance. His own face, blurred but recognizable, helping load his mom inside. His phone buzzed. Text from Tony. I'm sorry. I had to do something. They can help. Another buzz. James Chen. I'm covering all hospital expenses. No questions asked. Just let them help her. Marcus pulled out the letter. The paper had crumpled from being carried so long. A doctor approached. Mr. Williams. Marcus stood up. How is she? Severe pneumonia, complicated by her underlying condition. She needs immediate treatment, but her insurance. Do whatever you have to, Marcus said. The bills are covered. The doctor nodded and hurried away. Marcus smoothed out the letter. His hands weren't shaking anymore. He walked to the nurse's station. I need to make a call. The nurse handed him a phone. Marcus dialed the number James Chen had called from. It rang once. Marcus. Chen answered immediately. My mom's at Metro General. Marcus's voice was steady. They say she needs. I'll have my team there in 10 minutes. Best specialists in the city. Marcus closed his eyes. Thank you. Thank you, Chen replied softly. For my son's life. After hanging up, Marcus pulled out his own phone. Turn it back on. Messages flooded in, but he ignored them all. Instead, he opened his email and began to type. Dear Mr. Chen, you have my letter. I wrote it the night after saving Andrew, before any reward was offered. Before I knew who you were. Before any of this. I didn't do it for money. But my mom, she needs help. Real help. And I can't give her that on my own. You asked to meet the person who saved your son. Well, here I am. My name is Marcus Williams. I'm 16 years old. And I just want my mom to be okay. That's all I'm asking for. Marcus, he hit send. Within minutes, doctors and specialists flooded his mother's room. James Chen's personal medical team, coordinating with the hospital staff. Marcus sat outside her room, watching through the window as they worked. His phone buzzed one last time. James Chen again. A car is waiting downstairs whenever you're ready to talk. But for now, stay with your mother. She needs you more than we do. Marcus put the phone away. Down the hall, he could hear reporters gathering. The story was breaking. His name would be everywhere soon. But none of that mattered. Through the window, he saw his mom's oxygen levels improving, color returning to her face. The price of heroism wasn't the attention or the cameras or the loss of privacy. It was swallowing his pride to ask for help when she needed it most. Marcus leaned back in the hard hospital chair, exhausted but relieved. Sometimes the biggest acts of courage happen long after the moment of crisis passes. Sometimes they happen in hospital waiting rooms, with a crushed letter and a borrowed phone. Sometimes they happen when you finally stop running and face what comes next. Marcus closed his eyes. His mom was going to be okay. That was all that mattered. The hospital hallway buzzed with activity. Doctors rushed in and out of his mother's room. Nurses checked monitors. Specialists consulted in hushed voices. Marcus sat in the same hard chair, watching it all through heavy eyes. "Mr. Williams." A nurse touched his shoulder. "There's someone here to see you." Marcus looked up to find a tall man in an expensive suit standing nearby. Not James Chen. This man had the polished look of a corporate lawyer. "I'm David Pierce, Mr. Chen's chief of staff." He held out a hand. "We need to discuss what happens next." Marcus didn't take the offered hand. "I'm not leaving my mom." "Of course not." Pierce sat in the chair next to him. "But there are considerations. The media's gathering downstairs. Your story's gone national. We need to manage this properly." "Manage what?" "I just want my mom to get better." Pierce pulled out a tablet. "Your mother's receiving the best care available. Mr. Chen's personal medical team will ensure that continues. But we need to talk about the public side of things." He pulled up a document on the screen. "This is a basic agreement. It gives us permission to handle media inquiries, coordinate public appearances, manage your social media presence dash." "My what?" Marcus stood up. "I don't want any of that." "Marcus." Pierce's voice softened. "This story's already out there. We can't put it back in the box. The question is, do you want to control the narrative, or let others control it for you?" Through the window, Marcus watched another doctor examine his mom's charts. Her oxygen levels were better, but she still hadn't woken up. His phone buzzed. "Text from Tony, reporters at your apartment. They're interviewing everyone. Some guy claiming to be your dad showed up." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Pierce was still talking. "We've prepared a statement for you to read. Very simple, very dignified. Then a few select interviews dash." "No." Marcus's voice was firm. "I understand you're overwhelmed, but dash, you don't understand anything." Marcus turned to face him. "My mom's sick because she worked herself half to death trying to keep us afloat after my dad walked out. 7 years, no word from him. Now there's money involved, and suddenly he shows up? And you want me to read statements and do interviews like this is some kind of feel-good story?" Pierce opened his mouth, then closed it. "Marcus." A new voice. Tired but familiar. He spun around. His mom was awake, watching him through the window. Marcus rushed into her room, Pierce forgotten. "Mom, how do you feel?" "Better." She squeezed his hand weakly. "What's going on out there?" Before he could answer, a doctor entered. "Mrs. Williams? I'm Dr. Chen, James Chen's personal physician. We've stabilized your condition, but you'll need ongoing treatment. We'd like to transfer you to a private facility dash." "No." Marcus and his mom spoke at the same time. The doctor blinked. "I assure you, the facilities are state-of-the-art dash. I want to go home," his mom said firmly. "When I'm stable enough." "But dash, home," she repeated. "With my son." Dr. Chen looked flustered. "I'll consult with the team." He hurried out. Pierce appeared in the doorway, phone to his ear. "Yes, Mr. Chen. They are both. I understand, but—" "Yes, sir. Right away." He hung up and addressed Marcus. "Mr. Chen would like to meet. In person. Today." Marcus looked at his mom. She nodded slightly. "Okay," he said. "But not here. And no cameras." Pierce typed rapidly on his phone. "There's a private room downstairs. Security's clearing it now. Mr. Chen will be here in 20 minutes. 30. Marcus counted. "I want to stay with my mom a little longer." Pierce nodded and withdrew. When they were alone, his mom touched his cheek. "You're angry." His hair. Marcus's voice cracked. "Dad." Outside our apartment, talking to reporters. Her face hardened. "Let him talk. It doesn't change anything." But listen to me. She pulled him closer. You are not responsible for managing this circus. You did a good thing, a brave thing. Don't let anyone turn it into something else. Marcus nodded, throat tight. Now, she settled back against her pillows. Go meet Mr. Chen. Be honest. Be yourself. That's all anyone has the right to ask of you. 25 minutes later, Marcus followed Pierce through back corridors to avoid the media. They entered a small conference room. James Chen stood at the window, silhouetted against the afternoon sun. He turned when they entered. He looked older than his TV appearances, tired lines around his eyes. When he saw Marcus, those eyes filled with tears. You're just a kid, he whispered. Marcus stood straighter. I'm 16. Chen smiled slightly. My son's age. He gestured to a chair. Please, sit. Marcus sat. Chen took the chair across from him, waving Pierce away. I've read your letter, Chen said when they were alone. The original one. The one you wrote that first night. He pulled it from his pocket. The crumpled envelope Marcus had carried for days. You didn't mention money. Didn't ask for anything. Chen spread the letter on the table. Just wanted me to know my son was okay. Marcus said nothing. Why didn't you send it? Complicated. Chen nodded. Your father. Marcus's head snapped up. I had you thoroughly investigated, Chen admitted. Standard procedure when someone saves your child's life. John Williams left 7 years ago. No contact until today, when he showed up trying to claim credit for raising a hero. Marcus's hands clenched under the table. He's been removed from the premises, Chen continued, and served with a restraining order. He won't bother you or your mother again. Some of the tension left Marcus's shoulders. Now, Chen leaned forward. Let's talk about what you actually want. Not what my PR team wants, or what the media wants. What do you want, Marcus? The answer came immediately. I want my mom to get better. I want us to go home and have things go back to normal. No cameras, no interviews, no public appearances. Done. Chen didn't hesitate. Your mother will receive the best possible care, but at your local hospital if that's what you prefer. All expenses covered, including ongoing treatment and medication. A trust will be established to ensure her medical needs are always met. He continued. Your rent and utilities will be paid for the next 5 years, giving you both breathing room. A college fund will be set up in your name. Your choice of schools when the time comes. No public appearances or interviews required. Marcus blinked. Just like that. Just like that. Chen's eyes were warm. You gave my son his life back. Let me give you and your mother yours. The media will receive a brief statement saying the hero has been identified, thanked, and wishes to remain private. My team will ensure that privacy is respected. Marcus thought about it. What about the reward money? Still yours. In a trust you can access when you turn 18. Use it, save it, give it away. Your choice. Why? Marcus had to ask. Why not just write a check and be done with it? Chen was quiet for a moment. Because 30 years ago, I was you. Except no one saved my brother when he stepped into traffic. No one helped my mother when she worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. He met Marcus's eyes. Sometimes life gives us a chance to break the cycle. This is mine. Marcus nodded slowly. So, Chen held out his hand. Do we have a deal? Marcus took it. Deal. One last thing. Chen smiled. Andrew would like to thank you himself. When you're ready. No pressure, no cameras. Just 2 kids who shared a moment in the rain. For the first time in days, Marcus felt something like peace. Yeah, he said. I'd like that. Later, back in his mom's room, Marcus told her everything. You did good, baby, she whispered, drifting off to sleep. Marcus sat in his chair, watching her breathe easier than she had in months. Outside, the media circus continued. His phone buzzed with messages he wouldn't answer. Life had changed forever in ways he was only beginning to understand. But right now, none of that mattered. His mom was getting better. They would keep their home. His father couldn't hurt them anymore. The future, for the first time in years, held more promise than fear. All because of a split-second choice in the rain. Marcus closed his eyes, finally letting exhaustion take him. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, they were safe. Tonight, that was enough. A week after his mother came home from the hospital, a black limousine pulled up outside their apartment building. Marcus watched it from their window, his stomach tight with nerves. "You don't have to go," his mom said from the couch. She looked better, still thin, but with color in her cheeks. The new medications were working. "I want to." Marcus straightened his collar. He wore his best clothes, which meant his only button-down shirt and the jeans without holes. His phone buzzed. Text from Pierce. "Drivers ready whenever you are." No media. As promised. The past week had been surreal. True to his word, James Chen's team had handled everything. The reporters disappeared. The social media frenzy died down. Their apartment got a fresh coat of paint. The broken heater finally fixed. Marcus's mom had proper medical care for the first time in years. No more double shifts. No more choosing between medicine and food. Now it was time to meet Andrew. "Remember," his mom called as he headed for the door. "You don't owe them anything. This isn't about gratitude. It's just two people talking." Marcus nodded and went downstairs. The limo driver opened the door without a word. The interior smelled like new leather. Marcus sat stiffly, hands in his lap. They drove through familiar streets that somehow looked different from inside a luxury car. Past his school, where things had mostly returned to normal. Past Richmond Academy, where it all started. The limo turned into a gated driveway. A massive house appeared, all glass and steel and perfectly manicured lawns. Marcus's palms started sweating. The front door opened as they pulled up. James Chen stood there with a woman who had to be his wife, and Andrew half hidden behind them. Marcus got out of the car on shaky legs. "Marcus." Chen stepped forward, hand extended. "Welcome to our home." This time, Marcus shook his hand. "This is my wife, Linda." The woman smiled warmly. "And you remember Andrew?" Andrew stepped forward. He looked different in casual clothes, shorter than Marcus remembered. "Hi," Andrew said quietly. "Huh?" An awkward silence fell. "Why don't we go inside?" Linda suggested. "I made cookies." The house was overwhelming, high ceilings, expensive art, floors that probably cost more than Marcus's entire apartment building. He followed them to a sunny kitchen that seemed bigger than his whole home. "Sit, sit." Linda gestured to stools at a marble counter. "Would you like milk? Or we have juice, soda." "Milk is fine," Marcus mumbled. She set cookies and glasses of milk in front of them. James and Linda exchanged glances. "We'll give you boys some privacy," James said. "We'll be in the study if you need anything." They left. Marcus stared at his milk glass. "I've been wanting to thank you," Andrew burst out. "But everything I think of saying sounds stupid." Marcus looked up. Andrew's face was red. "It's okay," Marcus said. "You don't have to dash, I do." Andrew's hands twisted in his lap. "I keep seeing it in my head. The truck coming. Me frozen. I would have died if you hadn't." He trailed off. "I didn't think," Marcus admitted. "I just moved." "Why?" Andrew asked. "You didn't know me. I was just some rich kid who couldn't handle his bike in the rain." Marcus considered this. "Would you have stopped if you saw someone about to get hit?" "Hi." Andrew paused. "I like to think I would, but I don't know if I'd have been brave enough." "It wasn't brave. It was just..." Marcus struggled to explain. "When my dad left, no one helped us. We struggled for years, and people just looked away. I guess I decided I didn't want to be someone who looks away." Andrew was quiet for a moment. "Dad told me about your mom. How she's sick. She's getting better now." "Good." Andrew fidgeted with a cookie. "Listen, I know my dad's handling all the official stuff, but I want us to be friends. For real. Not because you saved me or because my dad's rich. Just friends." Marcus studied him, the nervous sincerity in his face. The way his shoulders hunched like he expected rejection. "Okay," Marcus said. Andrew's head snapped up. "Really?" "Yeah." Marcus took a cookie. "But I'm not calling you sir or anything." Andrew laughed, a startled, genuine sound. "God, no. Most of my other friends do that. It's awful." "Other friends?" "From school." Andrew made a face. "They're not really friends. Just kids whose parents want to network with my dad." Marcus nodded. He understood loneliness when he heard it. They talked more easily after that. About school, video games, the pressure of expectations. Andrew was funny once he relaxed, with a dry wit Marcus hadn't expected. Eventually, James and Linda came back. "Everything okay in here?" James asked. "Yeah." Andrew grinned. "Marcus is going to teach me park hour." "I never said that," Marcus protested. But you could, right? The way you moved that night. That wasn't park hour. That was pure panic. They all laughed. Marcus, Linda said gently, we'd like to show you something before you go. She led them to another room, some kind of home office. A large check hung on the wall, made out to a familiar name. The Children's Hospital. Marcus read. Your mother mentioned you didn't want the reward money, James explained. So we thought, with your permission, we could donate it in your name. Create a fund for other families struggling with medical bills. Marcus stared at the check. All those zeros that could have changed his life, now ready to change others. The Marcus Williams Memorial Fund, he read. We can change the name, Linda said quickly. Or wait, if you'd rather think about it. No. Marcus smiled. It's perfect. They drove him home later, Andrew promising to text. Marcus's mom was waiting at the window. How'd it go? She asked as he came in. Marcus sat beside her on the couch. Good. Different than I expected. How so? He thought about Andrew's laughter. The check that would help other families. The way the Chens treated him like a person, not a headline. They're just people, he said finally. Rich people? Yeah. But still just people. His mom squeezed his hand. You sound surprised. I guess I am. Marcus leaned back. Andrew wants to be friends. And do you want that? Marcus remembered Andrew's face when he talked about his school friends. The loneliness behind the privilege. Yeah, he said. I think I do. His phone buzzed. Text from Andrew. Serious question. Does park hour training require special shoes? Because I can get us special shoes. Marcus laughed and typed back. Still not teaching you park hour. Another buzz. Come on. I need to learn how to be a hero too. Marcus looked at his mom, healthy and happy on their couch. At their apartment, now properly heated and painted. At the future stretching out before them, full of possibilities instead of fears. You don't need park hour for that, he texted back. Just don't look away when someone needs help. His mom read over his shoulder and smiled. Outside, the city went about its business. School tomorrow. Work for his mom when she was stronger. Life moving forward in its new pattern. Marcus settled deeper into the couch. Content. Sometimes the biggest changes come not from dramatic moments in the rain, but from quiet conversations over cookies. Sometimes heroes aren't made in split-second choices, but in the small decisions that follow. Sometimes friendship finds you when you least expect it, in the aftermath of a moment that could have ended everything, but instead began something new. Marcus closed his eyes, letting the peace of that knowledge wash over him. He was exactly where he needed to be. 2 months after the rescue, Marcus sat in the hospital waiting room while his mom had her checkup. The same hard plastic chairs, the same antiseptic smell, but everything else had changed. No more worried looks from the staff about unpaid bills. No more choosing which medications they could afford this month. No more watching his mom struggle through shifts she was too sick to work. His phone buzzed. Text from Andrew. Math test today. Still mad you won't let me copy your answers. Marcus grinned and typed back. You're at a fancy private school. Shouldn't you be smarter than me? That's classist. Also, their teaching methods are inferior to the wisdom of the great Marcus Williams. Over the past weeks, their friendship had grown real. Andrew came over to study, played video games on Marcus's ancient console without complaint, brought takeout his chef made but never made Marcus feel like a charity case. Marcus! Dr. Rivera appeared in the doorway. Your mother would like you to join us. He followed her to the examination room. His mom sat on the table, smiling. Tell him, she urged the doctor. Dr. Rivera consulted her chart. The new treatment is working better than expected. Your mother's lung function has improved 60%. The infection is completely cleared. Marcus grabbed his mom's hand. There's more, his mom said. Tell him the rest. With continued treatment, there's no reason she can't return to work part-time next month. Light duty only, the doctor added firmly. 20 hours max. But it's definitely possible. Marcus hugged his mom carefully. She felt stronger, more solid than she had in months. I told you, she whispered. We always figure it out. Outside the hospital, Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time it was Tony. Dude, you're trending again. Marcus froze. They'd been careful to keep his privacy. What had happened? He clicked the link Tony sent. It was a news story about the Marcus Williams Memorial Fund at Children's Hospital. The first round of families had been selected to receive assistance with medical bills. A photo showed a little girl getting treatment she couldn't have afforded before. Her mother quoted saying, "We don't know who Marcus Williams is, but he saved my daughter's life as surely as he saved that boy in the rain." Marcus sat heavily on a bench, reading stories of families who could finally get the care they needed. No more choosing between rent and medicine. No more watching their children suffer because they couldn't afford treatment. Just like him and his mom, they were getting a second chance. His phone rang. "James Chen, have you seen the news?" Chen asked when Marcus answered. "Yeah, just now. The fund's already helped 12 families. By next month, we expect to help 50 more." Marcus swallowed hard. "I didn't do anything. It's your money." "No," Chen said gently. "It's your example. Your choice to help a stranger inspired all of this. Speaking of which, Andrew says you're still refusing his park hour lessons requests." Marcus laughed, tension breaking. He's persistent. He admires you. Not for saving him, though there's that too. But for who you are. The way you handle everything. "I'm just trying to take care of my mom." "I know." Chen's voice softened. "That's exactly what I mean. Listen, Linda's making dinner tonight. Why don't you and your mother join us? No fancy clothes. No cameras. Just family. Family." The word hung there. "Let me ask my mom," Marcus said. But she was already nodding, having heard his side of the conversation. That evening, they sat around the Chen's kitchen table. Linda had made comfort food, meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Andrew was telling stories about school, making everyone laugh. Marcus watched his mom chat with Linda about recipes. Saw the easy way she smiled now that the constant pain and worry were gone. Saw how Andrew's parents treated her with genuine warmth, not condescension. His phone buzzed. Text from Tony. "More news coverage about the fund. You're basically Batman now. A really boring Batman who won't teach park hour." Marcus snorted. Andrew looked over. "Tony calling you Batman again? He's never letting that go." "Well," Andrew grinned. "You did swoop in dramatically to save someone. I slipped in the rain and almost face-planted. My hero." Andrew deadpanned. Their mothers shared knowing looks. After dinner, Marcus and Andrew sat on the back patio while their parents talked inside. The night was cool, stars barely visible through the city lights. "Dad says you're still not spending any of the trust fund money," Andrew said. Marcus shrugged. "Don't need it. Your dad's taking care of Mom's medical bills. We've got rent covered. What else is there? College? A car. Normal teenager stuff. Maybe." Marcus looked up at the stars. "But right now, that money's doing more good helping other families than it would buying me things I don't really need." Andrew was quiet for a moment. "You make it hard to be a spoiled rich kid. You know that." "You're not spoiled." "I was." Andrew picked at a loose thread on his sleeve. "Before the accident, I never thought about any of it. Money, privilege, other people's struggles. Now I can't stop thinking about it. Is that a bad thing?" "No." Andrew smiled slightly. "It's actually kind of a relief. Like, now I see the real world. Not just my bubble." Marcus nodded. He understood. His world had expanded too, in different ways. Their mothers called them inside for dessert. Linda had made apple pie. They ate together, the conversation flowing easily, laughter filling the kitchen. Later, driving home in one of the Chen's cars, they'd insisted. Marcus's mom touched his arm. "You okay, baby? You're quiet." "Yeah." Marcus watched the city lights blur past. "Just thinking." "About what?" "How different everything is. But also, not different. Like, we're still us. Still in our apartment. I'm still just a regular kid. But also everything's changed," she finished. "Yeah." She squeezed his hand. "You know what hasn't changed? Who you are. Money, fame, new friends in high places. None of that changed your heart." Marcus thought about the fund. The families getting help. Andrew learning to see beyond his privilege. Ripples spreading outward from one moment in the rain. His phone buzzed one last time. Text from Andrew. "Thanks for coming tonight. Also, I found park hour tutorials on YouTube. Just saying." Marcus laughed and typed back. "Go to sleep. Some of us have normal school in the morning." Classist. His mom read the exchange and smiled. "You got a good friend there." "Yeah." Marcus put his phone away. "I do." They drove the rest of the way in comfortable silence. Their apartment building looked different now, painted, repaired, properly maintained. But it was still home. Inside, Marcus helped his mom take her evening medications. No more rationing pills or skipping doses. No more choosing between medicine and food. "Night, Mom," he said, hugging her carefully. "Night, baby." She held him close. "I'm proud of you. Not for being a hero. For being you." Marcus went to bed thinking about ripples. How one action could spread outward, touching lives he'd never even meet. How change could be both massive and subtle at the same time. His last thought before sleep was of the little girl from the news story, getting the treatment she needed. Her mother's words echoed. "He saved my daughter's life as surely as he saved that boy in the rain." Maybe that was what heroism really meant. Not dramatic rescues or park-hour stunts. Just helping however you could, whenever you could, and letting those ripples spread where they would. 6 months after the rescue, Marcus stood at the intersection where it had happened. The pavement was dry now, the spring sun warm on his face. Cars passed normally, their drivers unaware of how this spot had changed so many lives on a rainy night. His phone buzzed. Text from Andrew. "You're late. Everyone's waiting." Marcus smiled and typed back, "Just taking a walk. Be there soon." Today was his mom's first full day back at work. Not as a cleaner anymore. The hospital had offered her an administrative position. Better pay, better hours, work she could do even on her bad days. She cried when they offered it. Happy tears. For once, Marcus started walking, passing Richmond Academy. The security guard, the same one from that night, nodded to him. They'd gotten used to seeing him around now that he and Andrew studied together regularly. His own school had changed too. Not physically, same old buildings, same crowded halls. But the way people treated him was different. Not like a celebrity or a hero, but with a quiet respect. They'd watched him handle everything with grace, turn down money and fame, stay true to himself. Even the teachers looked at him differently, especially after his grades jumped from barely passing to honor roll. Amazing what you could achieve when you weren't constantly worried about bills and medical emergencies. Another text, this time from Tony. "Bro, if you don't get here soon, Andrew's gonna try those park-hour moves himself. None of us want to see that." Marcus laughed and picked up his pace. They were all meeting at the children's hospital. Andrew, Tony, their families. A small celebration. The hospital looked different in daylight. Less intimidating. Through the entrance, he could see balloons and decorations in the waiting area. James Chen stood outside, talking on his phone. He smiled when he saw Marcus. "There he is," Chen said into the phone. "Yes, I'll tell him. See you soon." He hung up. "That was your mother. She's finishing up some paperwork, then heading over." They walked inside together. The waiting room had been transformed. Balloons and streamers everywhere. A banner read 100 families helped. Marcus Williams Memorial Fund. "Marcus." Andrew ran over. "Finally. Mom won't let us start without you." Linda Chen appeared with a cake. Tony helped her set it up, stealing frosting when he thought no one was looking. More people arrived. Hospital staff. Some of the families who'd received help from the fund. Even Marcus's old boss from the corner store showed up. "Special day," Mr. Park said, handing Marcus a card. "Had to be here." Marcus's mom arrived last, glowing in her new business casual clothes. She hugged him tight. "Proud of you, baby," she whispered. James Chen clinked a glass for attention. The room quieted. 6 months ago, he began. A young man made a split-second decision in the rain. He didn't know who he was saving. Didn't want recognition or reward. He just saw someone in trouble and acted. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Andrew elbowed him playfully. "That decision not only saved my son's life," Chen continued, "but sparked something larger. Today, we celebrate 100 families who've received critical medical care through the fund bearing his name. 100 lives changed." He gestured to some of the families present. A little girl with a new heart valve. A boy recovering from cancer treatment. A teenager with a prosthetic leg. But more than that, Chen said, we celebrate the ripple effect of one person's choice to help others. The way that choice inspires more choices, more help, more hope. He raised his glass. To Marcus Williams, who taught us all that heroism isn't about dramatic rescues or grand gestures. It's about the simple choice to help when you can, however you can. To Marcus, everyone echoed. Marcus felt his face heat up. His mom squeezed his hand. After the toast, people mingled and ate cake. Andrew and Tony argued about video games. Linda showed Marcus's mom photos from her garden. A small girl tugged Marcus's sleeve, the one with the heart valve. "My mom says you're the reason I got my operation," she said. Marcus knelt down. "The doctors did all the hard work. I just helped a little." She hugged him suddenly. "Thank you for helping." Marcus hugged her back carefully, throat tight. Later, outside the hospital, Andrew found him staring at the sky. "Deep thoughts?" Andrew asked, wondering what would have happened if I'd taken a different route home that night. Or left school earlier. Or later. "Don't." Andrew's voice was firm. "That's like me wondering what if I hadn't lost control of my bike. Or what if it hadn't rained. Doesn't matter. What matters is what did happen." Marcus nodded. "When did you get wise?" "I hang out with this really smart guy. Don't tell him I said that, though. He's already too full of himself." They laughed. Marcus's phone buzzed. Text from Tony. "Yo, we still gaming tonight?" Andrew swears he's gotten better. "He hasn't," Marcus typed back. "But let him dream." Andrew read over his shoulder. "Rude. Just for that, I'm definitely trying that backflip today. No backflips. Too late. I'm feeling inspired. Heroic. Even." Marcus groaned. "I'm never living this down. Am I?" "Nope." Andrew grinned. "But seriously, thanks. Not just for that night. For everything after. For being my friend. Getting sentimental in your old age." "Shut up." Andrew punched his arm. "Come on. Tony's waiting. I have to defend my gaming honor." They walked together, trading insults and jokes. Normal teenagers doing normal things. Inside, the celebration continued. Lives changed and changing. Ripples spreading outward. Marcus looked back one last time at the hospital. At the spot where everything had shifted on a rainy night. He didn't regret any of it. Not the rescue. Not the aftermath. Not the changes big and small. His mom was healthy. Their future was secure. 100 families had help they desperately needed. He had real friends who saw him for who he was. And he was still just Marcus. Still taking things one day at a time. Still trying to make the right choices when they came. His phone buzzed again. His mom. "Dinner at home tonight? Linda gave me a new recipe to try." Marcus smiled and typed back. "Wouldn't miss it." He joined his friends, letting their chatter wash over him. The sun was warm, the future bright with possibility. Sometimes the biggest journeys start with the smallest choices. Sometimes heroes are just people who don't look away. Sometimes life gives you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. And sometimes, on an ordinary spring day, you look back at where it all began and realize every choice matters. Every ripple counts. Every act of kindness can change the world. One moment at a time.